Okay, hold on. Hello, welcome to the Learning Tree Book Club's regular monthly meeting. We read first Saturdays from one, from 2 to 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I'm Meredith McGee, the event organizer for Community Library Mississippi Goes Virtual. And I'm gonna let the other readers introduce themselves before we start reading.
My name's Hergia, and I am in the first grade.
I'm Olivia and I'm in third grade.
Yes, hello. I'm Vicki Jenkins. I am the co-chair of the Community Library of Mississippi in our Learning Tree Book Club, and we welcome everyone to the first Saturday book session.
Thank you. We have one more. That's a Marianne.
I'm Mariam Yusuf and I'm in the third grade.
Okay, then thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna read a 5 minutes first. Got my timer. I'm reading Keisha's Doors, and the author of this book actually is the first cousin of Oprah Winfrey. Do you all know Oprah Winfrey? You ever heard of her? Really? She's like one of the most famous women from Mississippi. That's interesting. Okay, so this is the first page of Doors. And this is Keisha. Can you see her? Can you see Keisha? That's Keisha. Keisha is artistic. Do you know anybody that's artistic? Okay. Okay. Sometimes I wonder why my little sister Keisha won't play with me. Keisha is almost 3 years old. I am her big sister, Monica, and I am 9.5 years old. When I bring out blocks and dolls for us to play, Keisha will pick them up, throw them down, and walk away. She doesn't seem to know how to play with toys. She used to say a few words like mama, dada, and bye bye, but she stopped talking before she turned 2 years old. Keisha doesn't seem to listen or look up when we talk to her. When mom asks Keisha to say a word, she walks away and rocks on her pink rocking chair. Y'all see the rocking chair? Keisha loves to rock back and forth. One time when her rocking chair broke, Keisha rocked on her bed until dad bought her a new rocking chair that looked exactly like the old one. Mom and dad took Keisha to see some special doctors at the hospital. It took a long time for the doctors to talk with her. parents and to test Keisha. The doctors asked my parents what favorite foods Keisha liked to eat. They were not surprised to hear that she was a picky eater. After a while, the doctors told my parents that Keisha was autistic. Mom and dad had never heard of autism before, and neither had I. The doctor said it meant Keisha would need a lot of extra help learning to listen, learn, play, and talk. They wanted Keisha to go see a therapist because that person could help Keisha with her learning. My parents took Keisha to see Miss Sherry at the therapy center. She played with her and spoke to my parents. We were still having trouble understanding what it meant to be artistic. But Sherry said that inside of Keisha are some inner doors that shut out parts of her surroundings. These doors are closed to playing with and talking to family and friends and learning how to listen and follow directions and being aware of people around her. And these are the doors around Keisha. Miss Sherry said she would teach us how to help Keisha open her inner doors. She started teaching us some sign language. Then she taught us what she called open door ideals. One ideal was called face to face. Miss Sherry said we should bend our knees and get face level with Keisha when we speak with her. You see? She said it was like standing at her front doorway saying, "Here I am, please let me in." Another idea was called hands to face. To do this, we take Keisha's hands and put them on our cheeks when we talk to her. Okay, so my 5 minutes is up. Any questions about what I read, or can you tell me anything you learned about dealing with an artistic family member or friend? Okay, Olivia, unmute yourself.
One thing I learned is that sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's not as easy to be different than other people.
Yes, that is so true. And it was interesting how the therapist taught them to stand face to face with Keisha and also to take Keisha's hands and let Keisha touch their face to try to open up her doors to communication with them. Welcome, LC. You can turn your video on and introduce yourself to us. And was there any other comments from the other book club members today?
Hello, everybody.
Oh, hello, how are you? Thanks for coming.
Yes, I want to see how I can be a part of this because I always wanted to do a book, be in a book club. No, stop.
Okay, are you reading with us today? We're taking turns reading 5 minutes each book club member, and then the other readers will ask the person 2 questions so that everybody will get a turn. We're reading for 5 minutes.
Okay, but then how do I access the book and all of that?
Oh, we're reading from home, and so everybody's reading the book from in their house.
Oh, okay.
We're reading live, and instead of everybody's not reading the same book. I'm reading,
Oh,
I just read, can you see it? Keisha's Doors.
oh, okay.
I read the first, maybe 7 pages of Keisha's Doors. And when I finished, they were asking me questions about what I read. And then the next read, I think, is going to be Olivia. She's in the 3rd grade. And then when she does her 5 minutes, we'll ask her questions about what she read, and we'll keep going. And then you will be the last reading, and we'll start all over again. Because we will read together for 1.5 hours, first Saturday.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to find something because I'm not even at my house.
Okay. You can get a newspaper, or a magazine article, or a poem, and read
Okay.
with your friend. So was there, thanks for coming. Was there any
Yeah,
other
I'm
questions about Keisha's Doors or comments?
okay. No, no.
Okay, we'll wait on you to get something to read. Anybody else have any questions or comments about Keisha's Doors? Okay, so Olivia, it's your turn now, and I'm gonna mute myself while you're reading.
Okay, do I start? So I'm reading The Gingerbread Man. Once upon a time, there was a little old man and a little old woman. One day, the little old man said, "Let me make a gingerbread man." "Yes, let's do it," said the little old man, and they did. So they mixed up the batter and then rolled out the dough, and they shaped the little arms, and they shaped the little legs, and they shaped the little head. And with raisins they made the eyes and the little nose and the little mouth. And then with sugar glaze they dressed him in a fancy suit of clothes. But when they opened the oven door, out popped the gingerbread man, and he ran across the floor. The little old man and the little old woman could hardly believe their eyes. The ginger man looked up at them, but his little hand on his hips, and said, "Run, run, run, fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man." The little old man reached down to grab him, but quick as a wink, the gingerbread man ran out the door and down the road, and the little old man and the little old woman ran after him. "Come back," they yelled, but the gingerbread man just looked over his shoulder and said, "No, no, no, I won't come back. I'd rather run than be your snack," and he kept running. And he ran and he ran and he ran. After a time, he met a butcher standing in front of his shop. The ginger man looked up at him, but his little hands on his hips. "Run, run, run, fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. I've run from my husband, I've run from my wife, and I'll run from you too. I can, I can." The butcher reached down to grab him, but as quick as a wink, the gingerbread man ran on down the road, and the butcher ran after him. "Come back," yelled the butcher, and not far behind, the little old man and the little old woman were yelling too, "Come back, come back." But the gingerbread man just looked over his shoulder and said, "No, no, no, I won't come back. I'd rather run than be your snack." And he kept on running and running. He ran and ran and ran. After a time, he met a black and white cow. The gingerbread man looked up and put his little hands on his hips and said, "Run, run, run, as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. I've run from a husband. I've run from a wife. I've run from a butcher with a carving knife. And I'll run from you too. The black and white cow reached out to grab him, but quick as a wink, the gingerbread ran down the road and the black and white cow ran after him. Come back, yelled the black and white cow, and not far behind the little old man and the little old woman and the butcher with the knife were yelling too, come back, come back, come back. But the ginger man looked over his shoulder and said, no, 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 I won't come back. I'd rather run than be your snack. And he kept on running, and he ran and ran and ran. And after a time, he met a muddy old sow. The gingerbread man looked up and put his little hand on his hips. Run, 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 as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. I'll run from a husband. I've run from a wife. I've run from a butcher with a carving knife. I've ran from a cow, all black and white, and I've run from you too. I can, I can. Muddy old sow reached out to grab him, but quick as a wink, the gingerbread man ran on down the road, and the muddy old sow ran after him. Come back, yelled the muddy old sow, and not far behind the little old man and the little old woman and the butcher with a carving knife and the black and white cow were all yelling too. Come back, and come back. But the ginger man looked over his shoulder and said, no, 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 I won't come back. I'd rather run than be your snack. And he kept on running. And he ran and he ran and he ran. And after a time, he met a fox. The gingerbread man looked up at him. He put his little hands on his hips and said, run, run, run as fast as you can. You can catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. I've run from a husband. I've run from a wife. I've run from a butcher with a carving knife. I've run from a cow and muddy old sow. I'll run from you too. I can, I can. What did you say? Asked the fox. The tricky fox pretended that he couldn't hear well. I'm not as young as I used to be, he said. You'll have to come closer and speak louder. The gingerbread stepped closer and very loud he said, run, 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 as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. I've run from a husband. I've run from a wife. I've run from a butcher with a carving knife. I've run from a cow. I've run from a muddy old sow, and I'll run from you too. I can, I can. Just then, the little old man, the little old woman, and the butcher with the knife, and the black old cow and the muddy old sow came running around in the road, and they were yelling, come back, come back, come back. The gingerbread man looked over his shoulder. Before he could say a single word, the fox jumped up and grabbed him, and a quick as a wink, before he could thank, with a snap and a snick and a lap and a lick, the gingerbread man was gone. The little old man, the little old woman, the butcher with a knife, and this black and white cow, and the muddy old sow all stood there, stared sadly at the fox. He didn't let a single crumb for anyone. Riddle, riddle, ran, fiddle, fiddle, fan. So end the tale of the gingerbread man. The end.
Okay. Very good. So what I want to know, can you tell us what was the lesson or the moral of the story?
So the moral of the story is basically what the whole story was about, that how these people wanted to just eat a gingerbread man, but he didn't want to be eaten, so he started running away from everyone. And he started saying, like, you can't catch me, I'm the gingerbread man, and he just ran away from every person he saw.
And he survived, right?
No, at the end he met a fox. Here's the fox. Sorry, forgot to show pictures. Here's the fox. He met him, and the fox acted like he couldn't hear anything, so he had to yell in his ear. And when that happened, all the other people came running around, and the fox got very mad about that. So he went, and right here, he started going down to eat him, and he grabbed him and ate him. After he ate him, they were all so sad. And so here's this picture, and So once he ate him, they were all very sad.
Oh, wow.
So yes, but he didn't even leave any crumbs for the others. So he just ate it.
Okay. Well, thank you for that story. Are there any other questions? Who's next? You next, Harry?
Maybe.
Hold on. What you got something to say, Olivia?
Oh no.
Okay, Harry, you can read.
Funny Mail by Rosemary Wells. I'm wearing my special 4th of July dress, Max said. Sister Ruby just then put. Willem Warthog rode by on her brand new bright red sand sweeper motorcycle. Picnic invitations go to all my dolls and grandma, said Ruby. Max wanted to write a letter to Santa, asking for a bright red sand speeder motorcycle with big foot tires. You're getting tires print on my letters, Max, said Ruby. Max put his letter into Santa in an envelope. He addressed the North Pole and put it in the mailbox. Nobody writes to Santa in the summer, Matt said Ruby. Matt, nobody writes to Santa in the summer, Max said Ruby. The mailman had trouble reading Santa's address. Dolls and donuts. This letter should go to Grandma, he said. The mailman put Ruby's invitation and Max's letter to Santa in Grandma's mailbox. Grandma opened Ruby's invitation. Hooray, said Grandma. I love picnics. Then she opened Max's letter. It's a tire print letter, said Grandma. I will send a yes I can note to Ruby and a bulldozer back to Max. You've got mail, Max, said Ruby. Santa, said Max. No, Max, said Ruby. Santa doesn't enter mail. He just gets mail. Max opened his letter. when he know it must be from Santa. About the sand speeder motorcycle with Bigfoot tires. Max did not know why Santa thought he wanted a bulldozer. Max wrote back right away about the bright red motorcycle. Another mystery letter, said the man. And mailed it back. Wait, a bright red letter, said Grandma. Grandma wrote a red airplane letter and mailed it right back to Max. Max waited at the mailbox. Some of the picnic guests have arrived, Max, said Ruby. They need to be entertained. But Max knew Santa would send him another letter. Don't hold your breath, Max, said Ruby. Santa is taking his summer vacation at the South Pole. At the same time, the mailman came. He brought 3 Yes I Can letters for Ruby, dolls, and other letters from Max. Max opened his letter. Max did not know why Santa thought he wanted an airplane. Something was wrong. Grandma opened Max. Santa did not understand about the bright red sand speeder motorcycle with Bigfoot tires. That was because Max had left the most important part. So Max wrote a new letter to Santa. No one will ever read it, Max, said Ruby.
Harry, how many pages you have left?
Only 2.
Okay, go ahead and finish.
Grandma opened Max's letter. She could not make hands or tails if it just then another somebody what put up the street. My goodness, said Grandma. Max's letter is clear as day. Grandma picked the telephone. Information. She said the operator. I would like a number at the North Pole, please, said Grandma. The 4th of July picnic was a huge success. Everyone had lemonade and ice cream, sprinkle help panties right in the middle of the firework. The mailman came. Special delivery for Max, said the mailman. The package was postmarked from the North Pole. Santa had understood Max's letter at last. Just before bedtime, Max wrote a thank you letter to Santa. The end.
Okay, thank you, Harry. I have two questions, and anybody else could ask a question too. What did he want from Santa? And also, I wanted to ask you: have you ever wrote a letter to someone and put it in the mail?
I have not wrote a letter to anybody, but he wanted a motorcycle that could drive on sand with Bigfoot tires. Because
Question. I have a question about why did she dress up for 4th of July at the beginning of the story? But why did she dress up for the 4th of July, but then not even have 4th of July till the end of the story?
that was the 4th of July, and then at the end of the story, that was the night of the 4th of July. And she was dressing up for the 4th of July for a picnic. And you can see that's the motorcycle that he wants.
So the story was about the 4th of July and Christmas?
I guess.
Okay.
It's
And
in the
then,
middle of summer.
okay. Any other question? If there are not any questions, who's reading next? Oh, you're reading next, Vicky. You're muted.
She's muted.
Vicky, unmute yourself.
Okay, I got me now. Have I got me
Okay.
now?
Okay. Someone just came. Hello, thanks for coming.
Well, we'll let them go ahead. We'll let him go ahead.
What? You can read. I was just welcoming whoever just came. Vicky.
It was the same person who keeps joining and leaving.
Oh, they joined and leaving. Okay. Okay, so Vicky, you could go ahead with your 5 minutes, and I'm gonna turn the timer on.
Okay.
Okay. Welcome, Janice Benson. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Hey there, Janice. Okay, my book is called The Mosquito, and it is about those of who are learning to be a permanent private sitters for older white families. When I was pregnant, my beloved cousin Zaka was killed. Shot in the back of the head, his tall frame always stood out in his fitted plaid shirt buttoned to the top. He always wore boots made of real snake skin and a black cowboy hat with a feather on the left side. He also had the largest belt buckle I had ever seen. I always snickered at the tight skinned pants. All the boys I ever saw wore oversized pants that sagged. I learned real lessons from Zach, like how to be a boss, how to raise my head whenever I introduced myself. When I was younger, I spent time practicing how to say my name in front of him. All right, go, he says. I would stand tall in front of him, holding my head as high as I could. Victoria Diane Lewis, I said. I grew up in Chicago. I spoke properly whenever I introduced myself to the white families that my grandmother, Grandma Louise, cleaned. For they always tell me I was intelligent because of it. That's right, my little cousin. That's how you introduce yourself. Zaka cheered me on no matter what. He had the confidence that a runway model, Zach could have been a model. All the girls loved him. Everyone joked around him, saying that he would have had babies in every town in Mississippi. He had the straightest teeth, looked whiter. The straightest teeth that looked whiter than the Clorox bleached clothes. His black, clear, oily Vaseline skin looked like he wore makeup. That was the man I took pride in knowing. He was my first cousin. That's real kinfolk. He was never able to have babies because Grandma Louise had often called us, all of us, fast tail girls, beat us to the punch, even me. Mona, my daughter, was born shortly after Zeka was killed. When I saw her face the first time, I knew something would have to change. I wanted to break the cycle for my daughter, but no matter how I strived to escape, the same hood that had slain Zeka always located me. Something about that street life interested me, probably because I was good at it. I was 17 when I graduated from high school and did not understand what I sought to go in my life. No person told me about college. I was clueless and ignorant. Furthermore, I was an unexpected young mother. I comprehended that I would voice Zaka before he died. I would be a powerful boss at what I was supposed to do. I had no guidance, and most of my life I was penniless, single mother, as Mona's daddy denied her. You're a boss. I often heard Zaka say it in my head. I couldn't go back to a 9-to-5 job, but I remember my cousin Sabrina, who made a killing sitting with older white people. She worked for a tip service for many years by sitting in Mississippi. Therefore, she knew a lot of people who yearned for their own private sitters, not tip service. Sabrina belonged to belonged to the red bone circle of the family, growing up with favorite with cherry colored bones, got favoritism from the blackberry ones of my lifestyle. Let me say, she was one of the cherry colored ones, got favoritism. And the blackberry ones in my lifestyle just say were located outside with a reused plastic muggy milk jug of water. And the
Vicky,
scorching. What now?
yeah, come to the end of your paragraph and stop so we can ask you questions.
Okay. In the scorching summer months in Mississippi. That's a paragraph. Yes, that's the end of the paragraph.
Oh, they're doing good. Vicky,
Yes.
does anybody have any questions to ask Vicky about the story she's reading? Vicky, I remember when you bought that book. Okay, well, anyway, who is reading next? Mary, are you reading next?
See, you always get on me about the books I choose.
Yeah. Mary, I think you need to unmute yourself. Let's see. I can't hear you. Just talk a little louder.
Book is called Daisy Dreamer. The book is illustrated by Guinevere Santos.
What's the name?
And
What's the name of the book?
Daisy Dreamer. It's illustrated by Guinevere Santos and it's written by Holly Anna. Chapter 1, Happy Snow Day. Whoosh, a gust of wind whips the covers off my warm, snuggly bed. Does the wind want to play hide and seek? I feel around for sheets and blankets. I am like a grumpy caterpillar that wants to stay inside her cocoon. I tuck the covers over my head. Whoosh. The wind steals them again. Bah! I cry as I jerk the covers back over me. Sir Pounce attacks the ripples in my blanket. Stop! Then I scrunch up in a ball to keep warm. It's freezing in here. And wait, why is there wind in my bedroom? I peek out from under my covers and do a troubled blink. Am I dreaming? I wonder. Or maybe my eyeballs are playing tricks on me because it's snowing in my room. And there is an igloo on my floor, and someone is crawling out of the igloo's tunnel right now. And I know just who it is. It's Posy, my imaginary friend. Happy snow day, he shouts, a proud smile on his face. I rub my eyes and smile back at him. Only Posy could make it snow in my room. When my imaginary friend hops to the window, it's snowing outside too, he exclaims. I want to look out and see the snow, but I'm tangled in my covers. I roll right off my bed and onto the floor. Oof. I jump to my feet and brush the snow off my pajamas. Brr. Then I take 2 large leaps to the window. Yow! My feet are like ice cubes, but I look outside anyway. The snow has frosted the lawn, the fence, the bird feeder, and all the limbs on the trees. It's our first snow day together, I say, dancing from one foot to the other to avoid the cold. Posy has already started to roll a ball for a snowman right on my bedroom floor. I want to help him, but my feet are frozen, and uh-oh, I hear footsteps on the stairs. I tap Posy's shoulder like a woodpecker. Posy, my mom is coming. I warn him. Make it stop snowing in here. Get rid of that igloo. Hurry, or I'll be sent to the North Pole for real. Chapter 2. Zoom, zoom, zoom. What's the big deal? Posy asks as he stands in the middle of the snow in my room, doing absolutely nothing. Doesn't your mom like snow days? I lock my door to buy time. Of course she likes them, I explain, but not inside the house. It doesn't snow inside the real world. In the real world, only outside. Posy runs to my desk and pulls out a pad of paper. He draws a picture of the sun like that's going to help. Then he floats up and grabs hold with my ceiling fan with one hand. Turn it on. Let the sun shine, he calls. I flip the switch and zoom. Zoom, zoom. Rays of light burst from Posy's drawing as he spins in circles. His sun is melting the snow. Hurry, 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 I think trying to make the snow melt faster. Because now my mom is knocking on my door. Just a sec, I call. I wait for the sun to melt everything. The snow, the igloo, and every last drop of leftover water. Then Posy plops to the floor and dives right under my bed. I unlock the door like nothing's going on. Mom pokes her head in. Phew, she exclaims, fanning her face. It feels like an oven in here. I'd better turn down the heat. The piece of paper with Posy's sun floats gently down behind her. She doesn't notice.
Okay, we could come to a stopping point. Does anyone have any questions to ask about the snow day? I wanted to ask you, could you give us an overview of what you read?
Okay. So, okay. So, there was a girl named Daisy Dreamer. She had an imaginary friend that could make it snow in her room. So, her imaginary friend's name is Posy. Imaginary friend is Posy, and he likes snow days. There's another character in the story that is Daisy's mom. Yeah. So that's the book.
So the imaginary friend can do magic and made it snow?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Any other questions?
Do you have an imaginary friend?
Yes.
Oh, is that why you chose the story?
Yes.
Oh, I thought so.
Oh, wow.
How
Y'all
often
don't,
do you talk with your imaginary friend? Did you hear the question?
Yeah. I usually talk to her like every 5 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm. Does anyone know about your imaginary friend?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Goodness. I just wonder, when you are working with your imaginary friend, does anybody come where you are and wonder who you're talking to?
Yes.
Oh, my. That is something.
and Janice, I had an imaginary friend when I was a child too.
Okay. I must have a lot of them now with this pandemic.
Oh my
I
goodness.
talk to them all the time.
Okay. Well, maybe one day Mary Ann to turn into a famous writer or something. Okay, so
Yes.
Miss Elsie, are you ready to read and tell us what you're gonna read?
Hi, Miss Meredith. Me and my niece, this is my niece, Michelle. So hi, Michelle. We're not from the United States, we're from Belize, right? The country of Belize.
Oh,
I found you guys on Eventbrite, and I thought it would be cool for us to do some more interaction and everything like that. So today we're gonna be reading this book called Wild Weather, right? And in our country here, we have a lot of hurricanes and bad weather with the rain. And we were just affected last week by Hurricane Eta, not last week, and Hurricane Iota. So we're just gonna read like a page or two from the book. 1 second, I'm getting there.
and what's the name of the
Okay.
book?
The book is called Wild Weather. Wild Weather. Can you hear me? Yeah, Wild Weather. So Michelle is gonna read about hurricanes, and I'm gonna read about Hurricane Katrina because that's what's in here.
Okay, I gotta ask you one question. It's
Yeah.
It's 3:10 here in Mississippi. What time is it there?
What time is it here?
Yes.
What time is it there?
Yeah, in Belize. It's 3:10 here in Jackson, Mississippi. What time is it in
Yeah.
Belize?
Oh, you are in Mississippi. Okay. It's 3:10 here. We have the same time.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming. And what's your niece's name?
Michelle.
Michelle. And we welcome you to the Learning Tree Book Club. You're official members
Yeah,
now.
people think she's my daughter because she look like me.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, y'all can go ahead and read. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody for coming.
Go ahead, reload.
Just like a tornado, a hurricane is made up of swirling clouds. The winds in a hurricane aren't as strong as they are in a tornado, but a hurricane is hundreds or thousands of times bigger. Hurricane brings the most powerful and extreme weather on earth. They grow from groups of thunderstorms that move slowly across the sea, gaining energy. Hurricanes are also sometimes called typhoons or cyclones.
Okay. And I'm gonna read about Hurricane Katrina. You guys are familiar with poor New Orleans that keeps getting hit by all the hurricanes. In most years, a hurricane hit the southeast coast of the USA, damaging property and taking lives. In August 2009, a hurricane blew over the Atlantic Ocean and started to move towards the USA. Each new hurricane is given a name, and this one was called Katrina. On 29 August, it hit the coast of Louisiana, close to the city of New Orleans. Hurricane Katrina's strong winds pushed seawater on the coast, causing extreme flooding. New Orleans was protected by flood barriers, but Katrina pushed the sea level up so high that water poured over the barriers and into the city. In some places, the water grew to 6 meters deep. So, um, like I said, I didn't know what this meeting was about. I thought we read the same book, or I don't even have the book, but I just interested to join a. I like book clubs, so and I thought that I found this here. I'm at my mom's. That it's fitting because we keep dealing with all the hurricanes here. So hurricane season just finished last month, so we're happy.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming, and we enjoyed you. Of course, I think everybody here knows about hurricanes. We do have hurricanes a lot in the South. We have a couple of readers that are from Georgia, right? Marianne, have you all don't have hurricanes there, but you know something about them, don't you? Okay. And so we're glad that you all came, and everybody who's reading with us is now an official member of the Learning Tree Book Club. We read once a month on first Saturdays from 2 to 3:30 Central Standard Time, which is Eastern.
Okay, so once a month you guys meet?
Once a month, first Saturdays from
cool.
2 to 3:30 p.m. Central Time, which is 3 to 4:30 Eastern. Okay, and so does anybody have any questions to ask them about their articles about hurricanes? And I think that the last reader, Dr. Janice Vincent goes next, and I think after her we would have maybe time for one more reader.
Excuse, please. Where is the location of Belize? Where is Belize?
We are in Central America,
Yeah.
right? We are the only country in Central America that speaks English, right? Like above me is Mexico, and below me is Guatemala.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And we also speak a different language here besides our English. We speak the Creole. You know how they have French Creole? We have English Creole here. That's like our dialect that we speak here. So it's like broken English. That's what the local people speak here.
Very good. Are you reading something, Janice?
Well, I can discuss and read, but I want to say something here about the young lady's presentation. I was in Belize during the mid-80s, and I was there on an educational trip for 5 days. It was really very interesting. I discovered a real wake-up call just watching everything that was around me and seeing the dominant structure of the Catholic Church and how it at that time had taken over in terms of being the rulership of religion. And I remember that I think it was 1%, it was either 1% or 2% of the population comprising white Americans, because Belize is a place that comprises many, many Blacks. And I learned something like all the others who were with me at the time. We had some students and there were some faculty. But I learned that it was arrogant for us to just go up and take your picture without permission. And that's one thing that we in America have been severely criticized for, in terms of just thinking we can do it because we have the camera or whatever there is. So we were, we were told in a nice way that we couldn't just go up and take pictures. We were at a festival, which was really very, very, very nice when this happened. But we learned a lot of things without having a book in our hand. We learned on scene what to do and what not to do. And overall, the people were really just very, very genuine to us on that educational trip. It's ironic that you are, I guess it was meant to be, talking about Hurricane Katrina, because in this book that I have by Melissa Harris Perry called Sister Citizen, she mentions some things about Hurricane Katrina as she talks about African-American women and what has happened to us since we were enslaved, dragged over here from our homeland in Africa against our will. She talks about that, but she links it so well to the stereotypes, how society classifies people, puts us all in one category when we don't necessarily fit there. It's something that someone or some structure like America has thrusted upon us. She goes on to talk about, are you familiar, any of you, are you familiar with Zora Neale Hurston, who was a prolific Black writer, Zora Neale Hurston? Well, anyway, there's a movie that you probably have seen called Their Eyes Were Watching God. Are you familiar with that? Where I think it's Halle Berry who plays in that particular movie. But let me see if I can get you to understand. In the movie, their eyes.
I was going to see, Elsie, did you know she was asking you a question? She was actually, are you familiar with Zora Neale Hurston? The writer.
Oh no. No, I don't. I don't.
Okay.
Okay,
And I haven't seen
well,
that movie either. Probably my mom, because she likes to watch those kind of movies.
okay. Well, Zora Neale Hurston wrote the novel, Their Eyes Were Watching God. I was able to see the movie several times a few years ago because it came on TV. But the stereotypes, the classifications, the negative things that the main character, I think her name is Jane, in the movie confront are still with us today. So the author of this book, Harris Perry, tells the Black woman that she needs to confront these myths, these false things about who she is, and needs to challenge the American system in every kind of way to indicate that she is not what she has been labeled in society, from slavery to back during this time. This was about 10 years ago, I think, when the book was written, but I just purchased it a few months ago because I didn't even know it existed until then. But anyway, Harris Perry tells the Black woman that she needs to resist these negative things that constantly are depicting her to be when she is not that. There may be some women or many women who might fit these stereotypes, but not all Black women. For instance, and I have to be careful about my language because of the children here. For instance, when it comes to the word sex, Black women have been labeled increasingly down through the years to be what the Bible calls a Jezebel, or a woman of the world. I think that's a good way to say it. A woman of the world, one who is just prone to do whatever. But here in this book, we are learning about the white male and how he imposed himself on the Black female, who may have been just 9 years old, may have been 5 years old, and made it his law that his property was to do what he wanted her to do. And that legacy has continued even to today. So Melissa tells us here that the Black woman must take charge of her life and must continue to retaliate, fight against these kinds of things that have labeled her ridiculously. You know, that this is not true. This is something that was inflicted upon her when she was a slave. And it continues, like I said, to this day. So,
Janice, we have about 6 minutes left, but I want to show them. This is the book Zora Neale Hurston wrote. Their eyes were watching God, but I never knew that. So you're saying that the film that Halle Berry did was recorded in Belize? Is that what you're telling us, Janice?
no, I'm not telling you that. I'm just
Okay.
simply saying that the stereotypes presented in that particular movie are the same that have, among others, that have been depicted down through generations about the Black woman. So the Black woman has been devalued, has been put down as though she is trash. And so when we look at trash, that's nothing at all. We throw that away. And that's what has largely happened to her. We find also in the book, in terms of the stereotypes, how the Black maid who had no other work but domestic work way back when, and even during the 60s when I was coming up, I can remember a lady in the neighborhood telling me, we were in conversation because she was a domestic worker. She stayed on the same street, that she had to breastfeed the children she took care of when she went to the white folks' houses. So that was something that was common. And in this book, we are learning that that happened lots of times. And the Black woman wasn't able to breastfeed her own children because she had to preserve her breast milk for the white folks' children. And she breastfed her children sugar water. She gave them rather sugar water because she had nothing else within her when she got back home to take care of her children. So the point is that that was racist, it was demeaning, it was degrading, insulting, not only to the Black woman, but to her whole family and to the entire Black race. So we find also in the book, and I know time is running away, race, gender, and class were the concerns expressed, and that the Black woman must take control of her destiny. If she is angry, it's okay to be angry, but there's a way to express the anger and not be labeled as a sapphire. That's been the term that has been used constantly, sapphire. And then another term, mammy. Just of late, the syrup, well, what is her name? The Aunt Jemima. For years, she's been on the screen, and we have gone and purchased the product. Of late, I think it was this year or last year, there was conversation and a thrust to remove that item from the shelf because of it being degrading. Well, I'll just say this to the children. You know about Michelle Obama, and you probably understand something about when she first came to the White House, how she had said her platform was going to be working with children, and she was going to be there for her children. Well, there were many in society who said, oh, that's not going to work. But Michelle Obama, being a wise woman, knew it was going to work, because she was not going to go and take care of other folks' children, running around making speeches and leaving hers behind, and then come home and her two daughters running wild, as was the case with the Bush administration. When the children got drunk, they became drunkards in the White House. So being able to take a hold of the children is very important. You children don't have to settle for anything because somebody said you are this or you are that. You are reading here. You are striving to be the best that you can become. So the more you read and get involved in the books and positive activities, the better your lives will be. And the better it will be for you to be able to share all those good things that you're learning with people like us who are sitting here with you today. And so Michelle Obama made a choice. The choice was a wise choice. And she ranks very highly among all women, more respected than Barack Obama, her husband. Very, very popular, though Barack Obama is held in high esteem.
we've come to the end. So what I wanted to do, how many children are still on the Zoom with us?
Looks like 3.
Is it still 3? Okay, all 3 of you all, I want you to just tell me one thing that you learned today in the book club meeting. And we can start with you, Mary, and then Harry, and then Elsie Mae's daughter could go last, and then we'll end the meeting. Can you unmute, Mary Ann? Okay. Mary Ann, I can't hear you. We can't hear you, Mary Ann. Well, Mary Ann, hold on and let Elsie Mae's daughter say something, and then Harry, you go last, and we're trying to figure out how to get your audio on your. See if you can plug your audio back up.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Say it loudly.
I learned that I have to empower myself to read.
Very good. What about you, Harry?
I learned that I can do anything I put my mind to.
Very good. And Mary Ann, are you unmuted now?
One thing that I learned was that reading is important. Reading is an important skill.
Okay, very good. Okay, so this concludes our meeting, and we will be reading again first Saturday, 2 p.m. to 3:30 Central Time and Eastern Time. Mary, you in Georgia, right? It'll be 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for becoming a member of the Learning Tree Book Club. Keep reading. Happy reading. Thank you. See you guys later.
Stay safe.
All right.